Hey guys, EVP Man here, and today we're going to talk about iPad Pro cases. So back from CES, still recovering, don't have all my voice yet, and we're going to take a look at two very popular cases that are really getting very much a lot of focus and demand on the internet. First is the UAG exclusive version that supports the iPad Pro 12.9 and 11. And then second is one that we've reviewed for the very first time on the channel, and this is the Zugu case. And I asked you in the survey if you'd like to see a comparison of the two to see which one would be your case. We're going to do a comparison and we're going to see which one works out the best for you. So let's talk about them and let's get right to it. So guys, before we actually start taking a look at both of these cases, either the Zugu case or again the UAG case, one thing I just want to highlight, they are in high demand. Good iPad cases are in high demand, and many of the manufacturers had some difficulty very early on creating these products. I learned a lot at CES that Apple really didn't release good specs for them to create cases for it because they were keeping the changes to the iPad so secret. So everyone's playing catch up. Some may have had specs or documentation that wasn't really as current or representative of the final product. So you'll see multiple generation of cases being generated. So right now we're going to take a look at both of these products. They are available both on the internet now. That you may have a slight wait, but you can't go wrong with either one. It's really going to be based on your lifestyle. So let's get right to it. All right, so this is the online version of the UAG case, and again, this is the Zugu case. Let's take a look at all the features so that we can see how they compare. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the inside. So as you can look at the inside, you have a microfiber implementation on this side, so you have this microfiber, and then you have this TPU material, and it's still flexible, but with more rigid material on the corners. And then what you have right here is a pencil, what I call the pencil cradle, that's going to hold it in position and allow you to wirelessly charge at the same time. You have all the cutouts, which we'll take a look at in a couple seconds. So we'll close this one up. And then here you have the Zugu case. Still the same, very similar material, I would say, in construction. What you have here, though, is the case is a little bit more rigid. It feels like it's harder than the case that we saw here. And that's primarily because of this back that you have here. So this is the kind of like what you'll use to stand it up, which is flexible on the UAG, which we're going to see in a second. So this gives it a little bit more rigidity. So here you have some venting going on here, and the material on the inside, which is on both sides, is somewhat microfiber, but it's not as smooth and soft to the touch. And it also has this branding here. But you'll see that it has, again, good bumper protection, not as pronounced, I would say, as the UAG one. So look at these two. So notice how this really pops out. This is kind of narrower. We're going to see the screen protection in a second. But you have all your appropriate cutouts, and you also have your cutouts here in each one when it comes to your USB-C. So that's what the inside looks like and how they compare. Let's look at the backs now. So we'll go ahead and close this over. We'll look at the backs. On the back sides here, you'll notice that the actual stand, which you have here, right, which is firm, is kind of flexible, and it's actually part of the cover. So that you'll see when we open this up over here, this actually becomes part of the stand mechanism. This one is primarily, it's almost like the Surface, right, that it has that little kickstand in the back, and you'll see how that works. You do have a stowage area here where you can put your pencil, and that puts it in here. And then you have your camera, and then it's raised just like this one is. You notice how there's this kind of pattern or this raising? This is to raise the back of the tablet if it's laying on a surface so that you're not going to damage your camera. So they have great camera protection both, right? So now as we take a look at the Zugu case also then has this little store area for your pencil. And with the magnetic kind of finish that the iPad has, this is going to lock into place right here. So this is how you stow it. So you have two places to stow, here, and then use the strap, and you also have here. And this one feels like it has there's a magnet here. So you notice that even though the iPad is not there, it feels like there's something holding it in place. So it doesn't come out as easy. Even though it does come out, it just feels like there's something light in there, something that's keeping it in place, because again, it just feels like it kind of like locks in a little bit. It may be my imagination, who knows. You have the controls are right here, and this one, they're kind of tucked away. So you basically have this lip that comes up right here that protects it. And then on the top here, you have your pinhole, and over here, you also have your pinhole. You have your openings for your speaker, and you have your openings for your speaker. Bumper protection, if you notice, very pronounced, a little bit smoother on this side. From a weight perspective, they're kind of almost the same. You know, I'm not going by specs here. I'm just holding it to just kind of gauge what the experience is. They're almost the same. Now, one thing that is different about this one right here, and you're going to see this in a couple seconds once we put it on, but I'll just illustrate it now, is that you have this mechanism here is the actual track for your kickstand. So when you're going to use the kickstand, you have to open this up, and you have these magnets, and they fall into these grooves. The one negative I find is that this microfiber area tends to pick up a lot of dirt. It's going to be on the surface that you're going to be putting it on, and if it's dirty, this is going to be dirty, which, by the way, is the same surface that's going to be touching your screen. Now, the magnet is really strong, and it goes into all these channels, and of the two cases, I want to say that this one probably has the most angles that you can work with. Also, I've gotten this question. This, if you have this, you can put this against a refrigerator if it will accept the magnet. Yeah, so you can actually hold this up if you'd want to do that. This one doesn't support that. All right, so let's look at what the iPad looks like when it's on in the case. So if you open it up, it does support auto on. You'll notice that when the case is on, it does give you some extra protection, this material here. The bumpers are very pronounced, right? And you have great camera protection. Notice how deep that is. It's a good camera protection. Again, all of the ports that we're talking about are there. And in the event that you do drop your iPad, you do have protection on all sides. Let's look at the screen protection. Now, this screen does have a tempered glass screen protector. So the same one that I reviewed on the channel is supported. And you'll notice how far up this comes up. It's pretty dramatic, right? So that's going to make sure that even if it's open and it falls down, that you get some good protection. Right. Now, how does the pencil work on this one? So from a pencil perspective, your pencil goes into this cradle. So we're going to put it right here. And I'm just going to put it right there. So that cradle is going to hold it in place. And it's then supported even further by the strap. So that you get two protections. One, the cradle holds it in place. It's not a snap-in, but it's just kind of something, it's a cradle that holds it. And then you have this that goes around, which is magnetized, that holds it in place. So that's how you secure your pencil. You can see that your controls right here are deep, and they won't be pressed by mistake, especially if they're in your briefcase, and this one either. Audio gets channeled well, and the mics get channeled well as well. Now, you do have multiple ways that you can use this for viewing. I always go up to the UAG logo, and it holds up in place. That's one method. So now you have your second position here. So all you do is you flip this in just like this, and then you put it right here, and that's one position. And then you have this other position where you can have it just like this. All right, so you have multiple viewing angles, and you can see that the pencil is still accessible for each one. All right, so now let's take a look at the Zugo case. It has no strap going over it, right? It does have, it's magnetic, right? And it does support the auto on feature, even though it didn't turn there, it turned on there. Let's do it again. All right, so it supports the auto on. You also then have nice screen protection, so let's take a look at that now. So you notice how the sides do come up nicely, which is good. Has less bumper protection, so it has less bumpers coming out on the sides. And then the pencil goes into this area right here, which we saw earlier. So what you're going to do is you can just place it here, and it kind of self-guides with the magnet, and then you get the little message that it's charging. When you close the case, right, this is what it would look like. If you shake it, because it looks like it has some extra magnets there that I showed you earlier, it doesn't come out. So it's a really hard shake. With this one, because it has nothing, any additional magnet, it doesn't look like it is resistant as this one. So this one, it falls out a little bit faster, but this one, it will not fall out. And then you also then have this bumper here, you can see, and then you have the actual buttons resting outwards. This concerns me because if it presses against anything, like if you put it in your briefcase like this and the pencil's not in place, you risk pushing these buttons. You also have the button here, which is exposed, which you risk pushing, but you then have your pinhole and your speakers. Same thing over here, generous cutout. And the back, though, you have one extra stowing place for your pencil. So I can actually put it in here to make sure that it's super secure. This is not going to fall out anywhere. Yeah, so it's going to stay there. It's going to stay put. Now let's talk about viewing angles. Now we'll go ahead and move the UAG over for a second. You can open it up like this. So we'll go ahead and open this up. And I always get the question, can you use this? Yeah, you can actually use it like this. You really can. But really easily, that's what's going to happen. So you need to be careful. I actually don't recommend having it like this because I find that it's too easy to trip. So it's designed to work this way. And this is the negative. Microfiber area, dirty desk, dirty cafe, coffee shop, office, forget about it. They fall into place like this and it locks into that position. That's pretty secure. Notice all the different channels that you have, and you can just put it into each area, and it's going to give you good security. That's what it would look like. Lots of different angles to work with. Now, I do get questions, can you flip it upside down? The magnet is strong enough to support it that way. I just don't know why you would. I prefer the other as a viewing angle. It's more naturally designed to work that way. So those are all the differences and the things that I can find that are similar with these two cases. So guys, that concludes our review of the Zugu case versus the UAG case. Let me know in the comment area, which one are you choosing? Are you going to get the UAG version or are you getting the Zugu version? Would love to know in the comment area below. See you in the next one.